Okay, good morning, everyone. We're going to start. Oh, one sec. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's on.
All right, now we're officially ready. Will the clerk please call the order?
Good morning, everyone. Calling the roll for the Tuesday, May 26th Board of Control meeting, we have Lenora Lockett. Here. Nicole English serving as an alternate for Mike Dever.
Here.
Mike Chambers serving as an alternate for Armin Budish.
Here.
Lee Tucker serving as an alternate for the fiscal officer.
Here.
We have Trevor McAleer serving as an alternate for Dan Rady.
Here.
Nan Baker.
Here.
Dale Miller.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, at this time, we're going to review the minutes from May 18th. Give you a quick second or two, and if you let me know if you have any comments. Okay, hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the minutes from May 18th. Do I have a second?
Second.
This is Dale. I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Public comment?
Is there any public comment at this time? Hearing none, no public comment.
Okay, no public comment. We're going to move on to contracts and awards.
First new item, item number BC 2020-288, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on a purchase order to Partners Environmental Consulting, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $150,000 for general environmental consultant services, and it's for the period June 1st, 2020 through May 31st, 2023.
Nicole English with Public Works. This was done with an RFQ. Even though there was only one submission, we did score them and they scored highly. They've also been used from the Department of Development, so we called to check on a reference just to be sure that they've provided good service. This is for a task order contract, so tasks will be assigned and negotiated as they come up. And this is for general engineering or environmental consulting services. So this would be for testing in our buildings, if we, needed to remediate some kind of hazard spill or something like that. This is that kind of environmental. I know there was a question about if it's related to sustainability, but no, this is really directed towards our buildings and the facilities work that we do.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Are there any questions on this item?
This is Nan Baker, if I may.
Sure.
I did offer that question for the state of the education, environment, and sustainability. Only that they are there as a resource, and even though perhaps this would be put with the Public Works and under their supervision, given that we do have this education, environment, and sustainability, and people that are in place that understand, what it is that we need, whether it's new projects or whether it's just advice on asbestos or other environmental concerns. Do we talk to each other? Do we seek their guidance and expertise on some of these issues that perhaps they are well versed in?
Yeah, we constantly coordinate with sustainability on lots of projects that we do. So we are in communication all the time.
Okay, so even on something like this, you would reach out to them and ask for their opinion or advice on what we're doing?
Depending on the task, but yes, we could.
Okay. All right, thank you, I appreciate it.
Are there any further questions? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item is a two-part item. Item number BC 2020-289, Department of Development. A, submitting an RP exemption on a purchase order, which will result in a payment to Greater Cleveland Media Development Corporation, doing business as Greater Cleveland Film Commission, in the amount of $178,500 for operational support for the period May 26, 2020 through December 31st, 2020, and B, recommending the payment in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning. Paul Hertig with the Department of Development. This item is our annual operating support to the Greater Cleveland Film Commission. The Film Commission has continued to be very active in fulfilling its mission of both attracting productions to Greater Cleveland and also taking steps to build the industry through a variety of workforce activities. We did reduce the amount of our support, as we are doing with all of our support payments this year. This one is at 85% of the level of $210,000, which is what we've given for several years in the past.
Thank you, Paul. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes, this is Dale. I have a question, and my question is, what did we have in the way of films that were produced in Cleveland in 2019?
I have on the line a representative of the Film Commission, and if they're not able to answer that immediately, we will get that in writing and follow up. Do we have the Film Commission on the line?
Hi.
Yes, go ahead, Seema.
Hi, yes, this is Seema. I'm the COO of the Film Commission. And in 2019, especially in Q4, we had three big budget productions here. One was a movie called The Minutemen with Liam Neeson, and another was the movie Carrie, which was produced by the Russo brothers. And then a third one was an Untitled Fred Hampton project, and I believe that was a Warner Brothers first movie here.
For the record, may we get your name again, please?
Sure, it's Seema, S-E-E-M-A. Last name is Jaswal, J-A-Y-A-S-W-A-L.
Okay,
And follow-up, thanks very much for that response. And what do we have planned for 2020, and to what extent is movie production being affected by COVID-19?
So we actually had one movie, No One Here Gets Out Alive, that was in the middle of filming, and they had to shut down. And then we also had another movie called Undercover, which was in pre-production, and they also had to shut down. And I know Undercover has been in touch with our office, with our president and our production coordinator. They're just trying to, coordinate when they can return. And I do believe that is I think $30 million budget. And then there have been several phone calls. People are very interested in coming to Northeast Ohio to film. So our president and our production coordinator have been on the phone with HBO, with NBC Universal, with AMC, with Disney, and there's so many projects and HBO that they want to bring here. So they're just trying to coordinate that. Everyone's just waiting for, the green light to go.
Thanks very much, and good luck.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is Nan Baker, if I can ask a question.
Sure.
Given the restrictions on large gatherings and, much of what it is that you do is highly restricted right now, what does the realistic future look like for 2020 to be able to move forward in spending the dollars that we and others are contributing? We certainly support the Greater Cleveland Film Commission and want it to do well, and it has done well for Cleveland. But given the surroundings and the environment that we're in, is it realistic to think that we're going to actually be spending these dollars towards a film that would bring people in large gatherings to Cleveland in 2020?
The industry is working on putting together protocols, and obviously the thing about content is that they can't produce it virtually, so there's always going to be in-person jobs. They just have to figure out again, the health and safety protocols on that. And they're chomping at the bit. So a lot of productions had to shut down, when COVID happened. So they're ready to resume filming. And then there's all these projects that have been lined up. And so all indication is that everyone is interested in, as soon as the green light is, as soon as they say you're ready to film, I mean, they're ready to come here. I mean, we've always had a lot of interest because our tax credit is so competitive. And, they have a great experience when they come to Ohio. So, but anything related to, and I guess I was just emailed an article today that said that they're very close to having the white paper done on the protocol. So as soon as that happens, we're just going to get an influx of calls and people wanting to scout and wanting to film here.
Or I guess, going year to year as we support the Greater Cleveland Film Commission, if we find that you were unfortunately not able to move forward this year in spending those dollars, that next year we may carry over, I would think, the dollars that we're allowing this year for next year. Depending on how successful, given the restraints that you're living and we're all living within, whether it's realistic, that we can move forward in 2020. But certainly, we can support this project. There is a possibility that you will not move forward this year, but these dollars can be spent next year, which would then not have a need to ask us, at least for the full amount, or 85% of the full amount in 2021. Is that realistic for you, or?
If I may, this is Paul Hurdy. If I may just note, and Seema will correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is the operating support that we're providing is for the actual film commission operations. It's mainly for its staffing. It is not being paid out to the industry. So that I think that if the film commission finds it necessary to maintain its staffing level in order to line up the films to be produced when safe, I would not anticipate they would fall short on spending our money this year.
Paul, yeah, thank you, Paul. And just to add to that, so you're right, it is for operating support. The productions do not get any of this funding, but we are right now the only mechanism in Northeast Ohio to facilitate the productions. And I mean, again, we have been constantly, and even since March 15th when we were forced to work at home, our business has been as usual, and we've been flooding calls from producers, et cetera. And so we are the only mechanism. As a nonprofit, it is really hard to fundraise, and we had to cancel, some of our fundraising events because of the large gatherings. So this operating support is actually crucial for us to keep our doors open and to continue our mission. We're also still advocating for the tax credit. In fact, it could be a huge solution to economic recovery in the state of Ohio. And so we're constantly still working with the state. We're talking to producers. We're taking all of our workforce programs online. So we have not missed a beat. We have continued our operations and business as normal since March because we don't have brick and mortar. So.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you, Paul, also for asking the question. I hear everything you're saying and certainly understand the need to be operational. It would just make sense to us that your operational needs would be less. I mean, the staffing, when you're in full production, I would think your staffing would be at full production. When you're not at full production, it would only make sense that you wouldn't be also. But I hear what you're saying. I will support this. I think you do a wonderful job out there. If you are the only entity that's, supporting this industry right now through your means, then, that's good to hear. We'll find out next year in 2021 when we have this conversation again, just reflecting back how everything went. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much for your words. Thank you.
Any further questions from the board on this item? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale, I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item is a two-part item, item number BC 2020-290, Department of Information Technology. A, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award to DLT Solutions LLC in the amount not to exceed $15,257, and it's for the purchase of 10 additional SolarWinds Database Performance Analyzer 1-year subscriptions, and it's for the period May 26, 2020 through May 25th, 2021. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Janelle Green, Department of IT. These 10 additional licenses will allow the IT network engineers to monitor the servers and the applications that are contained on them. It will allow for more remote access since we are working remotely from home, most of the staff. And so this will ensure that we have the ability to see what is going on with the monitors, with the servers, and to basically assess the health and the operations of the servers in the county.
Thank you, Janelle. Are there any questions on this item?
This is Nan Baker. If I may ask, Janelle, is this then solely because of the remote? If we didn't have to work remotely, would you still be asking for these additional licenses?
Yes, we would, because the servers that did not have the licenses were being physically monitored, and this will allow us the ease of monitoring. I do know that this is going to be submitted for consideration for the CARES Act, so we'll see where that falls, but we would have been asking for these licenses even though COVID came into place.
Right. Is there a reason why then, given that we haven't asked for this sooner than this year? It sounds like we've been compromised for a while.
Well, we've had licenses before, so this was adding on to the license pool that we already had. So we were just adding on to making sure that we had a more comprehensive monitoring package in place.
All right. Well, I appreciate you looking into the CARES Act as to whether or not this can be covered. That's good to know. Thank you for your answer.
Sure.
Any further questions on this item?
Yes, this is Dale. I have a follow-up question, and it is that if this is something that we would have asked for regardless of COVID-19, how then could it be considered for CARES Act reimbursement?
This was something that came out of the executive call we had last week. I don't know all of the parameters by which something has to be considered for that. We think, in cooperation with the fiscal office, that if this could be considered, that would be great. If not, we still made provisions within our general fund budget to cover it. So we in the Department of IT don't know all the parameters. So we're going to submit it. If it does not get approved, it does not. Again, we've made the room in our budget to cover these licenses.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hearing no further questions, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item,
Yep.
BC 2020-291, Fiscal Office, submitting an amendment to a contract with Stifel, Nicholas and Company, Incorporated, for financial advisory services, and is for the period August 1st, 2017 through July 31st, 2020, to extend the time period to July 31st, 2022, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $180,000.
Okay, I guess I'll take a stab at it. Mike Chambers. This is the renewal of our financial advisor for the next 2 years. And the reason we're doing this now is we're right in the middle of refinancing and finishing up with our 2010 series bonds, and we're going right into the into the medical mart bonds. because of the interest rates are so low right now. So with their expertise, we're recommending to continue on with Stiefel. And we'll be bringing, obviously, some of that bond stuff, information to council in the near future. With that being said, I would ask if there's any questions.
So this is Dale, and is advising us on the refinancing opportunities part of the regular work that Stiefel does for us as part of this contract?
Yes, it is, and they've been very involved with the current one right now since really late November. And also, you know, other financial situations that come up. I mean, we use them on an array of services related to the county's financial health and as needed. No one did it. Please hang tight, folks. But he's obviously waiting. Have people. Now it would hang up. Want me to have everyone do that or no?
Can everybody hear me?
I
hung up and I'm gonna just do it again. Oh, we should have announced it. I had already accidentally hit the button.
Will be on there. Might still be on the call when we join back in.
Welcome to AT&T's teleconference service. Please enter your access code, followed by the pound. To join the conference as the host, press star. Otherwise, please enter your host. There are 23 participants on the call, including you. You are joining your conference as the host. For a menu of available commands, press star pound.
Hi, do we have everyone again?
Yes, Ann is still here.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the interruption. We don't know who that was.
So as a reminder, everyone.
the wonders of Zoom.
Everybody has to remember to mute your phone when you're not presenting, but then at the same time you have to pay attention to the live stream to know that you're up next, just in case.
You can't put it on hold. It has to be mute. Hold causes problems. Okay, so we were on the Stiefel item. Was there any further questions?
Mike, I had one question, Ann Baker.
Sure.
Is there a reason why we're taking it out 2 years? I certainly understand the need to take advantage of the low interest rates and other issues that we're dealing with for the following year. But why did we decide to go out till 7/31/2022?
In honesty, the reason being was he's keeping the rate the same, which was a benefit to the county at the $90,000. It's been like that for a couple of terms. So regardless of how much we use them, we felt that was a good deal. The other thing is we got the med marts, which are coming up, certainly going to take some time, but we're actually looking at every single bond that we hold going forward, Nan, to try and take advantage of this. And we certainly can cancel whenever we need to.
I understand. Thank you, Mike.
Sure, and there's a lot of discussions with the jail, and obviously they've been influential in that as well, providing guidance both to council and to the executive.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Hearing no further questions, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second Nan Baker.
Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Moving on to the next item, it's a two-part item. Item number BC 2020-292, Fiscal Office. A, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Manatron, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $119,373.28 and is for the purchase of Marshall and Swift rate table data licenses and is for the period January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Lisa Rocco, Fiscal Office. Manatron owns our current real property tax system, so we pay Manatron annually for the licensing and use of the Marshall and Swift tables. The tables update depreciation costs for both residential and commercial properties and are the industry standard and preferred by the Ohio Department of Tax Equalization. We use these tables for the sexennial reappraisal, the triennial update, and our annual maintenance. We started this process back in September of 2019. Unknown to us, Manatron was going through a change of ownership, which resulted in us not receiving all final documentation until May 8th. So that's why we're coming to you so late, but we receive quarterly updates based on our contract with the vendor, and as long as we pay by 12/31 of each year, we're in compliance.
Thank you, Lisa. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes, this is Dale. And my first question is whether this is a contract that will go away once we have the Harris system implemented, or does this not have anything to do with it?
It will go away as far as Manatron is concerned, but it will be part of our cost for Harris. The tables never go away. The vendor, it will just change with the vendor.
And my second question is, do we have information yet on what our collection rate was for the taxes that were due in January?
Yeah, did I not send that to you? I apologize. We do have the collection rate for January. I will get that to you.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
This is Nan Baker. Just to confirm, we did have the information needed as of January 1st. They just didn't bill us until May. Is that what you're saying?
No, we didn't get the required paperwork back from Manatron until May 8th. All the documentation, it took them that long to get us back signed copies of required documentation.
But you did have the rate tables.
Yes, we have a
January 1st.
Correct. We get updates quarterly. We just pay annually, and that's a requirement from the vendor.
Okay, so they were late in billing, but on time in giving us the information that we need for the tables.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Any further questions from the board? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Yes, this is Dale. I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Item approved. Next item.
Next item, item number BC 2020-293, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, recommending an award on a purchase order to Motorola Solutions, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $78,528.74 for the purchase of 51 P25-700/800 megahertz interoperable communications, portable radios, and accessories for various community law enforcement departments. A, Geauga County Sheriff's Department, and B, Chardon Police Department.
Good morning. This is Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety. This radio project was competitively bid. We received 3 responses. Motorola was the lowest cost vendor. In round numbers at $69,000. We also received responses from Vasu Communications, which was about $104,000, and Cleveland Communications, which was approximately $130,000. We're making a recommendation to award to the lowest cost vendor, and the reason for the difference in between Motorola's bid price and the actual award is that the bid specs allowed us to increase or decrease the number of radios that were purchased. Because this project came in under budget, we were able to purchase additional radios for these communities.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes, this is Dale, and my question is whether this is essentially the same product as the one that we had a few weeks ago that we had a go-around on and then decided to rebid, or is this an entirely different kind of product?
This is actually a different project that is going onto a different radio system. So this is a radio system that's used by Lake and Geauga counties.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any further questions from the board?
Just a quick question.
Sure.
You mentioned that perhaps we could purchase more radios for these, for those that are Geauga and Chardon. Do they have a need for more radios? Do we know how many more we will be purchasing? Where do we stand in perhaps increasing the purchase of the individual radios, and how many we would be?
I do know that these 2 communities have a radio project that was on, I believe, the 2019 State Homeland Law Enforcement grant. The additional radios does finish out the radios for one of these 2 communities. Unfortunately, my team member who's handling this project is out sick today, so I couldn't get the answer which community that was. We were basically moving some of these radios from 19 to 17 in order to fully exhaust the 2017 law enforcement grant.
Okay. So you're confident that even if we were able to buy more radios, there's definitely a need for more radios, and these won't be on someone's shelf?
Oh, that is without a question. I'm very confident about that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, any further questions? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve this item. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Nan Baker.
Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
For BC 2020-294, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, recommending an award on a purchase order and enter into a contract with Catholic Charities Corporation in the amount not to exceed $469,751 for pre-employment screening services for Ohio Works First applicants. And it's for the period July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021.
Good morning. Paul Porter, Health and Human Services, on behalf of Cuyahoga Job and Family Services. This is a recommendation for a contract award based on an RFP that was issued at the end of 2019. Our recommendation is that the current vendor receive a contract for a new contract period starting July 1. This was last RFP'd in 2016 when only the current vendor was the sole respondent. We did have 2 responses this time. I answered an advanced question about the low number of responses compared to the total number of vendors that received the RFP. The biggest thing with that is we established a vendor list based on potential vendors that could theoretically provide the service. That number 46 does not necessarily indicate that those vendors were specifically interested in providing the services. And for this one, I went back and looked at attendance at the pre-bid conference to see if there were a high number of vendors, and it was just the 2 vendors at the pre-bid conference as well. this screening service is still continuing, even though the building is closed. The vendor is delivering the services virtually by phone. And we expect a need for this contract to continue even throughout the pandemic. Anytime somebody comes in to apply for benefits, they're required to go through a pre-employment screening as part of the Ohio Works First program. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions on this item from the board?
Yes, this is Dale, and my question is who the other bidder was on the contract, and on what basis was Catholic Charities decided to be the preferred vendor on this contract?
Sure. Ohio Guidestone was the other agency that submitted a proposal, and we looked at both the cost and the overall score, and there was quite a big difference in scoring between Catholic Charities and Ohio Guidestone. It was a superior proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions on this item?
So you're saying you judged the Catholic Charity proposal to be superior on both price and quality. Is that the way I understood you?
Precisely. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
The next item is a two-part item. Item number BC 2020-295, Department of Sustainability, A, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to the Block Club Community Development Corporation in the amount not to exceed $20,000 for a community solar garden located in the Huff neighborhood in Cleveland. And it's for the period May 1st, 2020 through April 30th, 2021. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Hi, this is Mike Foley from the Department of Sustainability. So this is a project with a group called the Block Club, roughly around the East 70th area and Huff Avenue. It's a group of residents, mostly homeowners, who have been meeting for the last couple years and have kind of wanted to figure out a way to kind of build some wealth, both for their kind of community, but also for people who follow them later on down the road, living in the community. And so they've come upon this idea of developing a solar garden. They've identified probably about 40 acres of vacant lots in or around the area where they mostly reside, and they've got 8 acres where they think they can do solar, basically, to feed into either their homes or into potential other off-takers in the community. So this money is basically to help out with, they're going to have legal fees, accounting fees, kind of some professional expenses, pre-development costs to develop the solar garden. It would be the first one in the county, and we're hoping that it'll be a model for future developments.
Thank you, Mike. Are there any questions from the board?
Oh, this is Nan Baker. I do have a question. So I understand the purpose and certainly the initiative that has been underway for a couple of years. Given the environment that we're in, are they going to be successful in completing this project? How much more money has been contributed in order for this to be completed by, I believe you said, the fall of this year? Is that when?
Well, so the contract will go through. The contract will go through next spring, I think. But the way this will work is that they will hire a developer and they've got a memorandum of understanding with a developer already who will come in, develop the project, and then sell them or off-takers electricity. And so the developer basically fronts the money and makes their money back in the sale of electricity back to them. because of the federal tax, because they're a nonprofit, they can't, they're not eligible for the federal tax credit that exists. The developer will take the tax credit. But after year 6, then they will have the right to purchase the panels outright after, because that's when the tax credit time frame expires for when the developer can take the tax credit. So, so that's kind of at least the economics of how the project works. And then, you know, but this is it's complicated because you're going to have to do net metering or virtual net metering with Cleveland Public Power or whoever the utility is who this is being worked out with. So there's going to be a need for the neighborhood group to have some expertise in terms of legal work. They've already got some legal assistance from legal aid and an attorney who's helping out pro bono, but there's some complications in the power purchase agreement. So I think they're going to need someone, need more expertise than what they're able to get through local pro bono attorneys.
So I guess my question is, how realistic is it in the environment that we're in, where everything is being cut and postponed, and, you know, are asking for those to cut back in what it is that we're doing for existing programs? How realistic is it that this will get off the ground as scheduled and not be delayed like everything else we see around us is being delayed, especially because it's a new program, we're just getting started? Do you have any reservations about contributing $20,000 right now of county funds into this program that may not get off the ground for another year or more?
No, Councilwoman, it's a good, fair question. I don't. I think the solar industry is looking for work, right? And developers are looking to, you know, take advantage of the, you know, there's only 2 years left of the federal tax credit, basically, on solar. So I think the time is ripe. You know, the solar industry is still working. They're not. They're essential. They're deemed essential services, I guess. So I think it's in the product. The solar panels are out there, so and the workforce is around. So I think that it's doable. I think that the complications are going to be in more of the kind of legal avenues around power purchase agreements rather than the actual construction stuff.
The construction, okay. Well, all right. I just I'm a little hesitant in moving forward on a new program, and I understand it's been in the works for 2 years, but a lot of things have been in the works for 2 years that we'd like to see move forward, and unfortunately are delayed until we get a better understanding of where we're at in this environment. That was my question. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from the board?
Yep, Mike, this is Trevor.
Yeah.
Director, how much money is in the sustainability fund right now? What's the balance?
Oh, I think I'd have to ask Wendy Finn, but I think it's around 750,000 roughly.
Okay. Can you give me a number after? What it might be? Okay.
Yeah. And we've tried, just so you know, I want to be honest about this. I want to. There's projects out there that that we're going to be coming back to you for in the next month, because we want to see the money spent. We think it's a ripe time to spend money in the economy, and there's some good projects that we think we can take advantage of, even with the COVID problem we have right now.
Okay. Further questions from the board?
If I may, just make a comment as a follow-up. I don't know, Mike. I guess I would be hesitant in taking advantage of trying to use up the funding for projects that may come our way. We have an awful lot of needed services that are in place now that we don't have the money for, and we're asking all agencies to take a 15% cut. I think we may have to at least rethink where these dollars are best to be placed. I understand they're in your sustainability fund, But there may be, you know, services that we don't even know yet are needed. We don't know if there's going to be a second wave of this pandemic. There's still so many unknowns out there that I would be careful in, you know, beginning new programs because the opportunity is there to do it. That's just a comment. I will support today's. It sounds like, you know, we're well on our way in getting this done, and it's for services that are needed to investigate legal services, but I'm not sure that the thought of let's use it because we have it and it's a great opportunity in this time when we're really trying to rein it in is a good place to be.
Okay, Councilman, I understand where your head's at on this stuff. I think this project is ripe and ready to go, and I mean the funding will help get this thing up and off the ground, and will be an economic development assistance to a good project in Cleveland. And then the other stuff that we're bringing to you, I guess you'll have an opportunity to make on a case-by-case basis. But obviously, we wouldn't bring them to you unless we think they're kind of important and available to do right now, and will help out both the environment and the economics of the community.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Okay, hearing no further questions, I will make a motion to approve.
Mike, this is Trevor. One more question. I'm
Sure.
Director Foley, at what point do we give the Block Club Corporation the money? Is it some of the first money they received? Do certain things have to happen before we give them the $20,000? What point do we provide the money?
So they've got some money from the Cleveland Foundation, and they got a little bit of money from there's another nonprofit that gave them like a grant for $5,000. I mean, they're going to invoice us for money based on services rendered, and when we get the invoices, we'll look it over and say, hey, that makes sense, or it doesn't make sense. And we think our presumption is it will make sense, right? So my hope is that the attorney's fees or professional fees that we'll be getting bills for this is by fall, because that means the project's going forward.
Okay, Trevor, any further?
No, Mike, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, hearing no further questions or comments from the board, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Item number BC 2020-296, Sheriff's Department submitting an agreement with the City of Euclid in the amount not to exceed $115,260 for inmate housing services for the period February 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020.
Good morning, Tanisha with the Sheriff's Department. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
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 Okay, great. Requesting approval for a revenue-generating agreement with the City of Euclid for prisoner board and care services through December 31st, 2020. Revenue estimated to be $115,260. Negotiations did begin late, and we are hoping that they will begin sooner to avoid any future delays. This is as soon as we were able to process all the documents and present this in front of the board. To address a couple of the advanced questions, plans for this project after 2020. At this time, there are no plans to reopen Euclid's jail, to my knowledge. As far as extending any further, meetings and negotiations should have begun, but I am not privy to that information as of today.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
Yes, this is Dale.
Sure.
And my question is separate from the question of the Euclid jail facility. are we planning after 12/21/2020 to not continue to house prisoners from the city of Euclid, or are we planning to continue this program using our other facilities?
Councilman Miller, I have not been privy to any of that information. It would be my assumption that we will continue to provide this service if everyone was in agreement to it. I know that currently our inmate population is down, but I would not know exactly what the game plan is moving forward with housing other municipalities inmates here at the Cuyahoga County Jail.
So, by way of follow-up, would you inquire of your superiors and get back to me on that?
Absolutely.
As to what the game plan is?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any further questions on this item?
This is Nan Baker, if I may ask.
Sure.
The inmate housing services that are provided, have we been providing those services since February 1st, even though we're 4 months into the year?
Yes, ma'am. We have been providing that service since the jail has been closed.
Have we been receiving the revenue from that?
I don't actually track that revenue, but I will get that information from you. I'm absolutely sure we're billing for it. I'm not absolutely sure if we received any payment for it.
If you could, I think that's an important question. If we could know that even though we're 4 months into this agreement with the city of Euclid, has things been proceeding business as usual, or have they been holding it because this hasn't been approved until today?
I will definitely get that information for you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, further questions from the board? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Mr. Trevor, second.
Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, item number BC 2020-297, Sheriff's Department, on behalf of the Department of Human Resources, submitting an amendment to a contract with Occupational Health Centers of Ohio, PA Co., doing business as Concentra Medical Centers, for drug toxicology screening, occupational health evaluation, and audiogram testing services, and is for the period August 15th, 2017 through August 14th, 2020, to expand the scope of services by adding the Office of the Medical Examiner effective May 26, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $60,000.
Stephen Witt with the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department is submitting this amendment on behalf of the Department of HR, as we are the primary reason for this amendment request. Due to the hiring boon that we did in 2019 for COs and protective service officers, we have expended most of our available funds for those two units, and so we're asking for additional funds in order to cover remaining bills and any additional pre-employment drug screening that is required.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes, this is Dale, and could you say a little bit more about the addition of the medical examiner's office?
So when we contacted HR to inquire about for additional funds, they requested, and we offered to process the amendment as we were the primary reason for it. They requested that the medical examiner be added for services, but I do not know what exactly they were looking for. They were only added with $1,000, so I imagine it's not nearly as much services as we receive.
Pat Smock on behalf of the Department of Human Resources, if I might, Stephen and Councilman. The medical examiner's office asked to participate in this contract. We're adding lead blood tests for some of their employees. I believe it's those that test fire weapons for their agency, and they're requesting that they be tested for lead upon their request. Again, that request came from the medical examiner's office itself.
Okay, further questions from the board?
This is Nan Baker. I guess just for clarification, I understand that this contract ends August of this year. Is there a reason why we're already anticipating a one-time extension to go out to bid in 2021? Why is it that we don't go out to bid later this year?
Councilwoman, when our previous director was here in Human Resources, they had a conversation with the administration regarding some contracts that are ongoing currently. By the way, Pat Smock again for Human Resources, apologies, that are currently ongoing, and some were selected to extend for an additional year based on staffing here in Human Resources and the COVID situation. The thought was that with the business climate as it is and with our staffing situation as it is, that it might be best to go for an RFP in 2021. More businesses might be engaged in the process, and pricing might be more realistic. And also our staffing levels are limited right now in regards to our RFP review teams, et cetera.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve this item. Do I have a second?
This is Trevor, second.
This is Dale, I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item is a two-part item. Item number BC 2020-298, Sheriff's Department. A, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to United Rentals doing business as Reliable On-Site Services in the amount not to exceed $16,630 for the rental of 6 portable hand washing stations for the Cuyahoga County Jail and Bedford Jail annexes for the period April 2nd, 2020 through August 31st, 2020. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Stephen Witt with the Sheriff's Department. This RFP exemption request is for 6 portable hand washing stations for use throughout the county jail for COs to wash their hands at areas where they don't normally have sinks or other hand sanitizer dispensers. We originally received several quotes from the county EMA, and we went with the lowest quote that could be set up immediately. The reason for this being brought to the board late is that there were issues in getting the required documents from the vendor, as well as we had to receive an updated quote to reflect the actual use for the Sheriff's Department, including additional services and refills of these hand washing stations.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
Yes, this is Dale. And I get the impression, the way you described it, that there was a lower bidder, but that they could not provide the equipment immediately. How much lower were they, and how long would it take them to get it installed?
Councilman, the staff member that handled this is currently out of the office on furlough this week, but I will try and get that answer for you, and I will provide that to the board members.
This is Laura Sims from the Sheriff's Department. I'm sorry, Stephen, I'm also on the other line. No, Councilman, it was the lowest bid. There was not another lower bid. We went with the lowest bid.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Further questions from the board?
Yeah, Mike, this is Trevor. I have one.
Sure.
Steve, are there other contracts that'll be coming forward that still needs approval after the fact, like this one?
I'll let Laura handle that because she's been handling our COVID purchase responses.
Not that I'm aware of. I think that this is the last one that we have that we did quickly, and I apologize because we probably should have done this as an emergency purchase since it needed to go quickly. However, we didn't have. I didn't have all the information, or I wasn't aware of the process for that until after the fact. So otherwise, we would have processed that. But we're on board now with it. Know exactly how we're supposed to do moving forward with that kind of thing. But we did coordinate with EMA on this as well to make sure that we weren't doing something that
that we wouldn't, that another agency could have handled for us as well.
Okay, further questions from the
Thank you,
board?
Laura.
Okay, good. All right, hearing no further questions, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale, I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, item number BC 2020-299, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, submitting an amendment to an agreement with the University of Delaware for consultant and training services for the Attachment and Biobehavioral Catch-up ABC Intervention Program, and is for the period June 1st, 2018 through May 30th, 2020, to extend the time period to May 31st, 2021, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $19,000.
Good afternoon. Paul Porter, Health and Human Services, on behalf of the Division of Children and Family Services. This is an amendment to extend our contract with the University of Delaware for that attachment and biobehavioral catch-up therapy. It's intervention that's designed to help parents of children that have experienced significant traumatic events kind of learn how to parent their children better when they have an adverse reaction that might be a result of that traumatic event, like significant tantrums, attachment concerns, or other issues. This extension is going to allow for 2 additional staff to receive this training specific to working with infants, and one of the existing staff members that has already learned about using this treatment modality with infants will be trained on toddler ABC, and everybody who's involved is going to receive a year-long supervisory follow-up with the University of Delaware. Basically, the contract covers the initial training, and then they typically do weekly case consultations about the cases that are receiving this intervention. And so we're just extending this by 1 year to end May 31st of 2021. We noticed for some reason the contract this year ended May 30th. I think that was just a typographical error when the contract was written. The intention is for the entire month of May to be covered.
Thank you, Paul. Are there questions from the board members? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale, I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Moving on to exemptions, item number BC 2020-300, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, recommending an alternative procurement process and exemption from aggregation on various purchase orders, which will result in various award recommendations to the Ohio Department of Health in the total amount not to exceed $1,450,000 for state-mandated services rendered to children with medical handicaps, and it's for the period May 26, 2020 through May 25th, 2022, in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 3701.23.
Hello, this is Daniel Basta, Health and Human Services, on behalf of Job and Family Services. A little history on this. We were previously vouchering this on a monthly basis based on manual encumbrance. Since the putting in of ERP, we have since been notified that we can no longer do that. What we're trying to do is set it up so that we have an exemption and we're able to do monthly DOs in the amounts needed for this program. The program basically is at the Ohio Department of Health Children with Medical Handicaps program, provides with diagnostic, treatment, and service coordination programs to children who are residents of Ohio and who are potentially or actually medically handicapped. And again, this in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 3701.023. I'll be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Dan. Are there any questions from the board members?
This is Nan Baker. Did I hear you say that the ERP, was a mechanism you can no longer use, or it hampers your ability in this process?
We could no longer use manual encumbrances. We were previously just doing a yearly manual encumbrance and vouchering it out. The ERP doesn't work like that, so we need to find a different mechanism to pay this on a monthly basis.
I see. That's interesting. Thank you.
This is Mike Chambers. Just to add comment to that, we are looking into those manual encumbrances again. For the time being, though, this is the recommended path to move forward, but it's something we're looking at right now in the fiscal office.
This is Nan Baker. I appreciate that, Mike, because it really should all follow the same process and not be an exception, especially for this amount of money and for the important services that it provides. So thank you for looking into that.
Sure. Thanks, Nan. Any further questions from the board? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve this item. Do I have a second?
I'll second Nan Baker.
Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, item number BC 2020-301, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, recommending an alternative procurement process and exemption from aggregation on various purchase orders, which will result in various award recommendations to ABC Taxi in the amount not to exceed $180,000 for non-emergency client transportation services. And it's for the period May 26, 2020 through May 25th, 2022.
Daniel Basta, Health and Human Services, on behalf of Job and Family Services. Similar to the previous item, but a little different. It is the same type of deal. We were trying to do manual encumbrance for these, and we were vouchering them on a monthly basis. So now we're trying to do the alternative procurement to do this. I received a question in regards to how it's determined, why we're doing this, because we have a contract with AmeriCab. We are required to do this via Medicaid. We have to pay for anything that the doctors and clients have in consultation with one another. So if they have a specialist that's outside of the geographical area that AmeriCab handles, we have to pay for that. The good news is that any of these types of fares are fully reimbursable by Medicaid. So we're fully reimbursed on any of these types of items. I'll be happy to answer questions.
Are there any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right now. Yeah.
Opposed? Item approved. Someone should put on mute.
Next item is item number BC 2020-302, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, recommending an alternative procurement process and exemption from aggregation on various purchase orders, which will result in various award recommendations to ACE Taxi in the total amount not to exceed $120,000 for non-emergency client transportation services. And it's for the period May 26, 2020 through May 25th, 2022.
Hello, this is Dan Basta, Health and Human Services, on behalf of Job and Family Services. This is exactly like the previous item. It is for any of the other companies that we use for, like I said, geographical limitations or mileage limitations. It's the exact same item. We are fully reimbursed by Medicaid for these items.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions from the board on this item?
Just one comment, this is Nan Baker.
Go ahead, Nan.
I think it would be important to note on both 301 and 302 that these are Medicaid reimbursed. The way it stands now, funding source is Health and Human Services levy. But I think the reimbursement of that should be noted, just for the record.
I'm sorry, I had a little bit of trouble hearing you. What was that, Lynn?
I was
do you have
saying
a
that in 301 and 302, that because these are Medicaid reimbursed, it looks like funding source is HHS levy fund, which initially it is, but we
Yeah.
should note also that it's Medicaid reimbursed. So anyone reviewing them would see that.
Yes.
So going forward, Dan, if you could. Any other questions in this item?
Yes, this is Dale, and my question is, why do we have two of these companies? Do we just want to have different alternatives available, or do they have different service areas that they serve, or what else is the reason?
Combination of both of those, Councilman. Some fairs are able to be done geographically. Some fairs are able to be done in the mileage limitations. So it's a combination of both. We need to have options available so that they're able to get to certain places. For example, like certain cab companies will not allow you to travel outside of the county. So we have to have available options for those Medicaid recipients.
You're not going to have politics to them in front of Daddy. Go sit back down.
Keep going, girl.
Aren't my kids, by the way.
No, sorry. Those are mine. This is Jared. I apologize.
Oh, sorry. Any further questions? Make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. Second.
All those in favor say, oh, okay. We already got the second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Item approved. Next item.
Next item, item number BC 2020-303, Sheriff's Department, recommending an alternative procurement process to specify a brand name which will result in an award recommendation in the amount not to exceed $8,000 for the purchase of 10 Safariland Body Armor Ballistic Level 2 bulletproof vests for deputies.
Yes, this is Mark Banza with the Sheriff's Department. As recommended, we're looking to do an alternative procurement for the brand name, which would be the Safariland Ballistic Vests. These are the vests that rated highest based on the deputy's recommendation and provide the most safety. So we're just looking to specify the brand name. This will follow a normal procurement process otherwise than that, and we are confident that multiple vendors will bid on this item.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board member? Hold up, we have Lenora Lockett has a comment.
Lenora Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. Were you able to work with the law department on this? My only concern is that it's not a sole source, but we are specifying a particular vendor, and then we're buying 10. So did we already have a contract, or are we going to use this for every
I got this.
vest, or what is the process that we're going to be using?
Were you able to?
Stephen Witt with the Sheriff's Department. We are currently inquiring with the Law Department, but just to clarify, we are not selected a vendor yet. This will be informally bid through by-speed bidding, and we're confident that we'll receive multiple bids from multiple vendors. We're just specifying a brand name for the vests themselves.
Right,
but we are working with the Law Department to determine whether or not that's acceptable.
Again, this is Lenora Lockett. In the alternate procurement summary, there's no details on why this brand. That's more of what I'm trying to, if it's not a sole source where you can detail that we have to have this brand, and this is the only vendor that can provide it. Now we're stating we have to have this brand, but there's nothing in the documentation as to why. And that's why I was wondering if we had a contract and 90% of all of our other vests that we have are that were purchased under contract were by this brand, and we only need 10 more within the next time period, a certain time period, and that's why we're using for consistency? Or what is the reasoning why for 10 vests we have to have this brand?
So these 10 vests are for replacements and the new hires that we have throughout the end of this year. I apologize for the details not being in the briefing memo and justification. The reason for these vests are that the deputies and sergeants have extensively tested various different vests. They've actually acquired multiple vests, and they've tested them, including actually shooting them to find out which ones provide the best protection. And they found that the Safariland vests, the Safariland Ballistic Level 2 vests, meet their needs and provide the greatest amount of safety, which is paramount when you're deputies and you're out dealing in the field. So they've determined that these are the vests that they want. These are the vests that they currently have. So it is a bit of a continuation of making sure that the current stock of vests are all the same and are uniform across the spectrum.
And were those vests bought under a contract before, the ones that we have? And we're going to buy into another contract for replacement vests in general?
I believe all the previous vests were the result of informal bidding or receiving quotes from vendors. There is no contract at this time. In the future, we are going to, shortly here, before the end of the year, we're going to go out for a formal bid to establish a 3-year contract so that we don't have to keep doing this every year. And that will cover our needs for the next 3 years. But this is just to cover us through the end of the year.
Again, I don't have any concerns about providing the best vests for the sergeants and the law enforcement. I just want to make sure with government, when we're making a specific brand, that we document why we're doing that brand if we're not going to do a sole source.
So, Stephen, what is the expectation on law's review of the process? Like timeline?
Right now, if the law department comes back and tells us we have to evaluate additional brands, we will, because we're confident that the vendors that we normally deal with know that we want these vests in particular. But if somebody bids an alternate, then we will have the sergeant take a look at it, but there's no guarantee that they would accept that alternate brand or model. That's why we're asking for the alternate procurement. But I'm not sure what the law department's going to come back with. I'm working on clarification with them right now.
But your need right now is for 10, and that's what we're looking for. Okay, I will open this up to the board for further questions. Okay, hearing no further questions from the board, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Trevor, second.
Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Moving on to the consent agenda, item numbers BC 2020-304 through 305.
Okay, if...
Question in regards to item number 305? Postage for mailing of ERP vendor registration notification, if we have any other questions.
Yeah, they answered that. Okay, are there any other questions on 305 or any of the other consent agenda items? Feel free to speak. Okay, hearing none, unless you need more time, anyone? I will then make a motion to approve today's consent agenda items. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Today's consent agenda is approved. Moving on.
Moving on to other business, we have additional items. They are both time-sensitive, mission-critical. For the first item, item number 1, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, recommending an award on requisition 1727 to Youth Intensive Services, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $24,999.99 for emergency placement services for the period May 12, 2020 through July 12, 2020. The funding source being utilized is 70% Health and Human Services Levy Fund and 30% Federal Title IV-E.
Good morning, Paul Porter, Health and Human Services on behalf of the Division of Children and Family Services. This is a placement for a 15-year-old male who has been through 2 consecutive placements that were unable to properly serve him. DCFS housed the youth in their building for several days in early May and attempted to have him placed with 4 providers that were already in our network. The placement was denied by all 4 of those, and we found this placement option in the Youngstown area. So the goal is to process this as a time-sensitive mission critical. The youth was placed at this facility on May 12th, and the daily rate is $130 a day for the placement.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to amend today's agenda to include this mission-critical item. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, today's agenda has been amended. Are there any questions on this item?
I have just one question. Just curious. I see that 30% is federal. Is there a reason why Medicaid wouldn't be a place where we could also receive some funding, or is this just not Medicaid approved?
I think due to the specifics of the service that are being delivered, it can't be billed to Medicaid. That's why we do as much as we can billing it to federal, but the most that we can bill would be that 30%.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Hearing no further questions, I will make a motion to approve this mission-critical item. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item's approved. Next item.
Next item, time-sensitive mission critical, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, recommending an award on a purchase order in the amount not to exceed $4,590 to Thomas Scientific Holdings, LLC, for the purchase of nitrile gloves, and the funding source being utilized is the general fund to be evaluated by the Fiscal Office for CARES Act reimbursement.
Good morning, this is Mary Beth Vaughn, and these were for gloves that we ordered back on March 27th, and we received them on March 31st. At the time, this was one of the better prices that we were able to get, but more specifically, they were a vendor that were able to get us the gloves within 2 business days, and at the time we were placing this order, gloves were a very difficult commodity to try to purchase. And it's 51,000 gloves that were to be used in county facilities, healthcare locations, and by first responders.
Okay, thank you, Mary Beth. I will make a motion to amend today's agenda to include this time-sensitive item number 2. Do I have a second?
Second. This is Dale.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the agenda has been amended. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes, this is Dale, and my question is why it took so long for this item to get here.
This item actually was on last week's agenda, but because we handled the purchase as time sensitive, we needed to bring it back to you to get the time sensitive approval. The reason why it was on last week's agenda was we did have some difficulty getting the paperwork to get it entered into Lawson as the follow-up. The other issue is that we also started to do our mission critical purchases after the fact. As I mentioned last week, we started to run into a high number of orders that we were placing were being canceled after we were placing them because the products were becoming unavailable, delivery times were being delayed, or there were price increases, often due to shipping. And as of last week, we had almost 19% of our orders had been canceled after they were placed. So that's why we waited till we actually had the items and got all the paperwork in Lawson to get it submitted to you.
Further questions?
If I may, just for clarification, did I hear you say that we received this product at the end of March?
We did, March 31st.
So as long as we know we received it, what was the confusion of paying for it in April then? What was it that we're waiting for?
Well, one of the first things that happened is this was one of the first time-sensitive mission critical purchases our department had done. And so it was a matter of understanding what that process was to get it submitted, and then we needed to get paperwork from the vendor to actually upload into Lawson in order to get it onto the agenda. And then, as I mentioned, it was actually on last week's agenda. We thought that was the process that it would go through. We just found out a couple of days ago that we needed to bring it back to you.
Okay, but I guess my question is, even last week, May 18th, would have still been very delayed, over a month, I guess, given that we received the product at the end of March.
Correct.
Okay. It couldn't have brought this to us at the beginning of April, after knowing we received the product and put it on the agenda first or second week of April. No?
In hindsight, we probably could have. At that point, because it was under the $5,000 threshold, we thought it would just go through that process. This has definitely been a learning experience for our department, dealing with the mission critical purchases. Is not something we had normally done in the past.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate the answer, and this is a learning process for all of us, and it wasn't a huge purchase, so I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further questions? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve this time-sensitive mission-critical purchase. Do I have a second?
This is Dale, I'll second. We need the PPE.
Okay, seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, item approved. Next item?
Do we have any public comment at this time?
Okay, no public comment. Okay, with that being said, I will now make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
This is Dale, I'll second.
Okay, it's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
You have a good day.
You too.